This is a guide to the edible and medicinal mushrooms that you can forage in the summer. This video will be most relevant to the forests of eastern North America, but a lot of these mushrooms are widespread across the globe. Make sure to properly identify and thoroughly cook the wild mushrooms you do collect. Number 1. Chicken of the woods is a great mushroom for beginner and seasoned foragers. This mushroom is easy to spot with its bright color and is relatively simple to identify. The most common variety, Latiporus sulpharis, has an orange exterior and a lemon yellow underside with small pores. This species grows as a shelf mushroom on hardwood trees and often has overlapping layers. Sometimes you can find a tree or a downed log that is covered with pounds and pounds of these mushrooms. Another variety, Latiporus cincinnatus, grows at the base of hardwood trees and stumps. These mushrooms often form in circular rosette shapes. It has a lighter, peachy orange color and has white pores on the underside. Chicken of the woods have a long growing season from mid-spring to fall and are less dependent on rain than other mushrooms. Chicken of the woods taste best when they are fresh and tender. As the mushrooms get older, they tend to lose their color and become tough and chewy. A small percentage of people have an allergy to chicken of the woods, so use caution if this is your first time consuming them. When cooking chicken of the woods, I like to add in a sauce after sauteing them. They are delicious with barbecue, teriyaki, or pesto. They are known for a texture that is similar to chicken, so they work great as a meat substitute. Chicken of the woods tacos is another great way to use them. Number 2. Black sitting polypore is an overlooked edible mushroom. These mushrooms can be quite flavorful, however they are chewy and can be a workout for your jaw muscles. They are a creamy white mushroom that grows in rosettes near tree stumps. If you rip or bruise this mushroom, they will stain black within 10 to 15 minutes. This is the easiest way to identify these mushrooms and distinguish them from others. These mushrooms can get woody as they age, so it's best to harvest the new growth or the outer edges of the older growth. Black staining polypore are very stringy, so I like to pull them apart and cook them with onions and barbecue sauce. They have a similar taste to pulled pork, but a little bit chewier. Number 3. Indigo milk cap is a mushroom that is found in the middle and southern portions of the Appalachian Mountains and South America. It is one of the most rare colors among mushrooms and plants. This mushroom is in the milk cap genus, so it exudes a milky latex when it's bruised or cut. The mushroom has a vivid indigo color on the underside, but has more of a pale blue color on the cap, making it surprisingly hard to spot sometimes among the leaf litter. This mushroom can be used to make an indigo dye and is associated with different trees like oak, beech, and pine. The young indigo milk cap form a flat cap with thick edges. As the fungi matures, it begins to take on more of a vase shape. The smell of indigo milk cap reminds me of fruity pebbles for some reason. Indigo milk caps are edible and have a similar texture to portobello mushrooms. They tend to change the color of the food that's cooked with them to a bluish green color. Some lookalikes include the celandine milk cap, which has a slight bluish hue, and there are a few Cortinarius species like elegant blue webcap that have similar colors. Number 4. Black trumpets are a fragrant dark mushroom found on the forest floor. They form in a horn shape with a hollow interior. They are a black dark brown color, but they can also become gray as they age or dry. These mushrooms are thin with no true gills, only slight wrinkles on the sides. Black trumpets are common, but they're often difficult to spot because how easily they blend in with the leaf litter. Black trumpets prefer rich, moist soil and love to grow in patches of moss. Black trumpets are one of my favorite culinary mushrooms, and they have a taste and fragrance that is kind of similar to truffles. These mushrooms were commonly used in Italian cuisine and are excellent with pasta and pizza. These mushrooms also retain their flavor nicely after dehydrating. Dried black trumpets are great for making salts, spices, and flavoring pastes. Number 5. Turkey tail. Trametes versicolor is not an edible mushroom, but it is an excellent medicinal mushroom that you can use to make teas and tinctures with. Turkey tail are available year-round, but the new growth starts in mid-summer. I generally collect turkey tails in the summer and fall because that's when they are most fresh. Turkey tails have a lot of lookalikes, but they can easily be distinguished using 3 identification factors. Number 1. The mushroom should be paper thin with a velvety surface with varying bands of color. Number 2. Turkey tails should be bendable without breaking. And the third identifying factor is a white underside with barely visible pores. The pore surface is also a good indicator to assess the health of the mushroom. As turkey tails age, they will develop blemishes on the underside, so I try to look for a solid white underside. Turkey tails can come in a variety of alternating colors, including brown, blue, and gray. They grow mostly on decaying hardwood, logs, trees, and stumps. After I harvest turkey tail mushrooms, I dry them and save them for teas and tinctures. Turkey tails are good for boosting the immune system, improving gut flora, and are antiviral. I use them whenever I start to feel sick. Number 6. Old Man of the Woods is a dark scaly bolete that is easy to identify. They are a blackish gray color with scales in the cap and stem. They have a spongy texture with a gray porous underside. The stem can be a bit woody, and the caps can easily pop off. Old Man of the Woods have a polarizing taste as an edible mushroom. I personally enjoy cooking and eating these mushrooms. They have a slight brownie texture to them and melt in your mouth. Number 7. Crown-tip coral is a common mushroom that resembles coral in the ocean. This particular coral mushroom is distinguished from others because it has crowns, or fingers, on the top of each stem. This species grows on top of decaying wood and have a loose structure compared to other lookalikes like Romeria. Crown-tip coral have a white to off-white cream color and are easy to find in the late spring and summertime. These mushrooms are fairly brittle and can be easily picked apart. These mushrooms are edible and best cooked in soups and stir-fries. Number 8. Lobster mushroom, Hypomyces lactiflorum, is not technically a mushroom. It is a parasitic fungus that transforms existing mushrooms into a reddish-orange lobster tail. These mushrooms have a seafood smell and have a mushroomy crab taste. I usually find lobster mushrooms from July to mid-October. They are often covered with debris and leaf litter on the forest floor. They are difficult to clean because of their concave structure that allows soil to collect in the cracks. Make sure to thoroughly clean the fungi and check for slugs and bugs. Lobster fungi target specific Rusula and milk cap species, so those mushrooms will be an indicator of where to find lobsters in the woods. When lobster mushrooms are healthy, they are firm to the touch. Discard any lobsters that are soggy, soft, or falling apart. Once the mushrooms are clean, I like to cook them in a lot of butter. I use them in traditional seafood recipes like lobster rolls and lobster mac and cheese. Number 9. Beefsteak fungus, Fistelina hepatica, is a shelf mushroom that looks similar to raw meat. If you cut the mushroom open, it has a texture and marbling that looks similar to steak. Beefsteak is one of the few mushrooms that can be eaten raw. However, I prefer it cooked. It has a citrus-like acidic taste with a meaty texture. These mushrooms mostly form on the sides of oak trees in the summer. Their color ranges from pink to dark red. Sometimes the mushrooms can be sticky and gelatinous and ooze a dull red liquid. I like to slice beefsteak fungus into thin strips and cook it with actual meat. It is porous and absorbs the flavor of what it's cooked with. Number 10. Chanterelles are one of the tastiest summer mushrooms. These mushrooms have vibrant colors and often smell sweet like apricots. There are many mushroom species within the chanterelle umbrella. The most common variety is golden chanterelles, but there are also smooth chanterelles, cinnabar chanterelles, and peach chanterelles, as well as many others. These mushrooms have false gills, meaning the underside has wrinkles that are not easily removed. Golden chanterelles have more pronounced wrinkles, whereas smooth chanterelles have very faint ridges on the underside. These mushrooms can also be identified by opening up the inner stem to reveal a white color that contrasts with the external color. Chanterelles fruit from late June to September in eastern North America. These mushrooms tend to grow in moist, shady regions, often at the edges of the streams and trails. Chanterelles start their life cycle as a bright button mushroom, but fan out into a vase shape with wavy ridges as they age. Chanterelles are an excellent culinary mushroom with a great texture and a unique taste. They are wonderful with pasta and on pizza. Some lookalikes to avoid are false chanterelles and jack-o'-lantern mushrooms. Both of these mushrooms have true gills and lack the white inner stem that real chanterelles have. Number 11. Reishi is an excellent medicinal mushroom with a long history of use. Hemlock reishi, Ganoderma tsugae, is the most common variety in eastern North America, and it grows only on hemlock trees. The mushroom starts out its life cycle as white nodes on the sides of hemlock trees and stumps in the late spring. From there, the reishi sometimes form red antlers, or they fan out into a kidney shape. In the early summer, reishi will have a rainbow pattern with red towards the center, orange, yellow, and white at the edge. The white outer edge is the only part of reishi that is soft enough to eat. The rest of reishi is very woody, but used in teas and tinctures. The white outer edge of reishi can be cut and cooked up with butter. I try to only harvest a few reishi before they start releasing their spores. As reishi matures, it will form a solid red color. The mushroom may seem dirty or dusty at this time because the spores tend to collect at the top of the mushroom. You can pour water on reishi to reveal the shiny varnish of the mushroom again. This is the ideal time to harvest reishi. The mushrooms have had a chance to spread their spores, and the beetles and mold haven't damaged them too much yet. The underside of healthy reishi will be white with barely visible pores. The key to finding reishi is locating hemlock trees. These trees are perfectly safe and not related to poison hemlock at all. Reishi tends to fruit on the same hemlock trees and logs year after year. I have the best luck finding the mushrooms in old-growth hemlock forests. Reishi is mostly known as a medicinal mushroom. It is anti-inflammatory, it can help balance the immune system, elevating mood, and calming the nervous system. This is one of my favorite mushrooms to take daily. Number 12. Honey mushrooms form in thick clusters in the late summer. They are called honey mushrooms because of their golden brown color and often form fairy rings around trees. Honey mushrooms are a parasitic fungi that breaks down the roots of trees. These mushrooms are some of the easiest to collect in bulk because they fruit in these enormous colonies during their growing season. The biggest mushroom in the world is a honey mushroom in Oregon, and its mycelium covers 1,500 acres. Honey mushrooms can be slightly difficult to identify, and it does have one very toxic lookalike, deadly Gallerina. To identify honey mushrooms, look for yellow to brown caps with little hairs and scales on the top. These usually form a dark circle towards the center of the cap. They have white gills on the underside and a light colored stem. On the stem, they usually have a ring, and the ring is a leftover from a partial veil that they have when they are just developing. Honey mushrooms form in dense clusters emerging from a singular base. Toxic lookalikes such as Gallerina form in loose clusters that don't emerge from a singular base. Honey mushrooms have a white spore print, whereas Gallerinas will have a rusty brown spore print. One caveat is that ringless honey mushrooms are a species of honeys that don't have rings. When cooking these mushrooms, I like to separate the caps and the stems. The caps have a texture similar to shiitake, and I like to saute those. The stems I like to bake like french fries and add salt and spices to. Number 13. Cauliflower mushroom is an unusual fungi that grows at the base of trees and stumps. They have a loose, wavy structure that is similar to egg noodles. The mushroom is edible and has a similar texture to pasta or noodles. Cauliflower is very tasty in stir fries and soups. I have extracts of wild reishi, chaga, and lion's mane available in my shop, sonofabear.net.